Hello and welcome to Drew's Book Reviews. Have you ever wanted to see your favorite book series of all time adapted to the big or small screen? Adaptations to film happen all the time with some of the best-selling fantasy and science fiction books out there. Today we're going to talk about a fan casting of one of my favorite book series of all time. Stay tuned, that's coming up here on Drew's Book Reviews. Alright, let's talk about my fan casting of today. We are talking about the Stormlight Archive, which has actually already been listed on Internet Movie Database or IMDb.com as in production. Now, I don't know if this means it will ever actually make it to production. I think Mistborn is up there as well on IMDb. Anyway, whether these great and fantastic, amazing cosmere stories ever make it to the big or small screen still remains to be seen. But for today, we're going to talk about my fan casting of the Stormlight Archive. Now, this is by no means a fully comprehensive list. Now, first, before we get into that, don't forget to hit that like, comment, and subscribe. You can join me down on the Discord. You can join me over on Threads and Bookstagram as well. So let's talk about it. And of course, comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you would choose or which actors you would choose to portray these characters within either Stormlight Archive or one of your favorite series. So let's talk about it. So start, as I said, this is not a comprehensive list. There's no way that I would be able to do a list of total and complete cast for every conceivable character that comes through the book series of the Stormlight Archive. There are just too many characters. So I'm just focusing on some of the biggest, most important characters and roles. Some of the characters, which are important supporting characters, I just couldn't think of anybody that I thought would work well in the role, so I've left those out. But I did try to get the most important characters within the story on this fan casting. So let's start, of course, with the most important character in the entire series, Kaladin Stormblast. This is a character that has gone through so much in his life: the trials, the struggles, the slavery, the training to be a surgeon, but wanting to join the army and obtain glory for himself. Just the trials and everything that he's ever done, winding up on a bridge crew to be a slave pushed to the limits of endurance. Like, this is just, his story arc is just phenomenal. And trying to think of somebody who would fit the role. And I tried to find an actor that was young enough to portray Kaladin Stormblast. And the best that I could think of, and again, I'm not an expert at this by any means, so I don't know, I probably got a lot of these wrong. But anyway, for Kaladin Stormblast, Timothée Chalamet, who portrayed Paul Atreides in Dune. So he's already got that experience portraying that young hero archetype character in the Dune saga. So I thought Timothée Chalamet would make a good option to portray Kaladin Stormblast within the Stormlight Archive. He's young enough to fit the character. He's already done a kind of heroic or hero journey type story through the Dune saga already. And of course, he's portrayed that person thrown into battle and that kind of stuff. I thought Timothée Chalamet would be a great option. He's young enough to portray the role, and I think it just works well, at least well enough for the purpose of this fan casting video. And of course, Kaladin, you gotta have someone cast as Kaladin's partner, companion in crime, so to speak. And that, of course, is going to be his spren, Syl, or Sylphrenia. So Sylphrenia is kind of more of like a misty spirit type creature, wind spren, kind of not really having a physical form, but has the ability to manifest in any form she wants, but usually takes on the form of a young woman. So this would be more of a voice character than an actual physical on-screen character. So who would be able to voice Sylphrenia on a voice character situation, companion to our main character, Kaladin Stormblast? Honestly, the only one I can think of for that is Emma Watson. To be honest, I don't know why, but I've kind of always imagined Syl having kind of that English accent anyway. But I thought Emma Watson would be perfectly fine and a good fit to voice the character of Syl within this series. I love Syl's character arc as well. She kind of has that really kind of starting out innocent and growing, becoming something so much more as she enhances the bond between Kaladin and Syl continue to grow throughout the series. Although I thought, why not Emma Watson for this role of voicing Syl? I don't know, maybe you tell me down below, but that was what I thought for Sylphrenia. The next character on my list that I've done for this fan casting is, of course, going to be another vital and important character within this series, and that's going to be Shallan Devar. Now, this is a red-headed, freckled-faced bookworm of a character who also has her own unique spren as well, which we'll get to later in the fan casting. But I thought the perfect actress to play the character of Shallan Devar is Sierra Coveney. Now, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her first name right or not, but anyway, you might recognize her from Wheel of Time playing the role of Elaine Chocand. She just has the right look to play Shallan Devar. And I gotta be honest, I feel like this is maybe the best casting of this entire video. She just seems to have that perfect right look to play Shallan Devar. The next character I have on this list is going to be one of the most important characters as well in this series, and that is the role of Dawanar Kholin. So Dawanar is an old warrior known as the Blackthorn. He has a history of tyrannical warlord-like behavior. People of the kingdoms of Roshar feared him. He had done some terrible things throughout his past, and he lives with a curse. And to this day in the story, he regrets how he behaved on the day of Gavilar's murder, the king, on which he felt he should protect. Lest I give spoilers, I'm not going to give any more information on the character of Dawanar, but that is a rough summary of the character of Dawanar, an old warrior with a haunted past. And I thought the perfect person to play this role would be Jason Momoa. He, of course, is famous for playing the role of Khal Drogo in the Game of Thrones. But that's not the only warrior-type role that Jason Momoa has played. He's also played Baba Voss from the Apple TV series C, a post-apocalyptic world where everybody is blind and he's a warrior of his tribe. So he has actually played a lot of roles, known for Aquaman, I believe. I haven't actually seen Aquaman, but I understand he played the role of Aquaman as well. So Baba Voss, Khal Drogo, Aquaman, Jason Momoa just seems to be the right kind of actor to play an older warrior with a past, a dark past, a troubled past, and he just seems the right fit to play the role of Dawanar Kholin. Might have to cut his hair a little bit, but with the right costuming and hairstylist and all that kind of thing, I really can't see how he would not be able to portray Dawanar in an effective way. And if he were a lot younger, I might have put him as Caladan, but Caladan is definitely a much younger character, so I'm going to go with Dawanar. Jason Momoa portraying Dawanar in a Stormlight Archive adaptation. The next up on my list is going to be the character of Yasna. She is a heretic. Yasna Kholin is a atheist. She is a scholar, which Shallan Devar works to become her student effectively under Yasna Kholin's tutelage. So Yasna Kholin, the person or actress that I opted to portray the character of Yasna, I've kind of viewed her as kind of having that dark hair and darker complexion. I went with Anya Charlanta. She played the role of Yennefer from the TV series The Witcher. I think that she could probably pull off Yasna Kholin within this series, and I think she would do a good role of it, kind of being a, older 30-ish year old character is kind of how I envisioned her within this series. And I think that she could do Yasna Kholin a decent job of that. Now, I don't know how the casting this is so far, but that's what I would go with as far as the actress to play Yasna Kholin. Next up on our list, we're going to be playing a very important character, and this is going to be Zeph Sansan Villano. So Zeph is, I always pictured as kind of a taller, skinnier, bald individual. He was employed as an assassin, and we'll just kind of leave it at that because, again, I don't want to give any spoilers whatsoever in this. But who can we get to play Zeph Sansan Villano? I thought of Adam Driver. He, of course, played Kylo Ren in Star Wars. He has been in several other shows. I figure the look of Adam Driver, you shave his head bald, I think that he can actually do a good Zeph Sansan Villano. Kind of that tortured individual, essentially, who is sworn to obey any who holds his oath stone, and employed as an assassin, and the powers in which Zeph Sansan Villano has. And I just think he would do a good job of playing that kind of serious, darker thematic role that Zeph Sansan Villano kind of has within the story of the Stormlight Archive, and I think Adam Driver would actually do a decent job of that. Next up, we have the character of Rock. He is one of the bridgemen in Kaladin's Bridge 4 bridge crew. He is a much larger individual. It's an interesting character. He's from a place that's high up in the mountains. He refers to everyone else as lowlanders. And he's really kind of a generally happy, jolly type of character. Nothing seems to really get Rock down. And he just kind of casual, chilled, go with the flow kind of character. likes to refer to other people as airsick lowlanders because they're crazy with the way they think. Anyway, who would I get to play Rock? I went with Hamid Adamishan. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing this name right at all, but he played the character of Loyal in Wheel of Time. So, of course, just with the size of his character, playing the older and the larger character, and I just think he would do a good Rock impression or play the character of Rock in an effective way, being a more laid-back, chilled, larger individual with having a thick accent. I think it just works well for the casting of this character of Rock within the Stormlight Archive. So, who knows? Maybe. This, of course, just being a fan casting, who knows if any of this will happen, but hey, you never know, right? Next up, to play another Spren character. So this would be another voiceover character. This would be Shallan's Spren, Pattern. So the actor I opted to portray the character of Pattern, I went with Andy Serkis, because I just think he did an amazing voice work for Smeagol, Gollum in Lord of the Rings. And when I think about the way Pattern speaks and how his voice sounds, it just sounds like Andy Serkis to me. I don't know why, it just does. And I thought Andy Serkis would be a great option to portray Pattern as a voice character, doing the voice work of Pattern in the Stormlight Archive. I don't know, it just seems to work for me. And I think Andy Serkis would do a great job of that. So next up on our fan casting is going to be Navani Kholin. So she is the mother of Yasna Kholin. So she is also the essentially love interest of Dalinar. So she's the next up on this casting. And the actress that I picked to play this role would be Shohreh Aghdashloo. Now I'm not sure if I'm actually pronouncing that right. I'm probably getting a lot of these actresses' names wrong. But Shohreh Aghdashloo I picked to play the role of Navani Kholin. She has had roles in The Expanse as Christian Avicilera. She's also got a role in the show that I'm actually watching on Amazon Prime Video right now, Grimm. So she has been in a few different things, and she just seems to have the right look and feel to portray this character and how I'd imagine she would sound as far as the character goes, as well as the look. It just seems to go well with that. Next up is a Game of Thrones actor that I think would do a good job portraying the role of Gaz. Now Gaz is he's like a petty bully. He's in charge of the bridgemen, basically the slave master who runs all the bridge crews. So he is responsible for them. For this role, I picked Peter Dinklage, famous for playing Tyrion Lannister. Now, I think this would work really well. As far as that goes, Gaz, he is described as being much shorter than Kaladin when he's introduced there, and Kaladin does a great job of kind of taking control of his bridge, despite Gaz not, Gaz's objections essentially. And I think that working relationship would end up going quite well. And I think Peter Dinklage would actually do a pretty good job portraying Gaz in that way as well. And he just seems to fit. And when I'm thinking much shorter than Kaladin, it's just the contrast and size difference there between Peter Dinklage and Timothée Chalamet, I think would just work well. Next up on this list is going to be another Game of Thrones actor, and of course a very important role, which is Bright Lord Sadeas. For this particular character, I went with Charles Dance, who played Tywin Lannister on the Game of Thrones. I always know Charles Dance or Tywin Lannister, he's already got the experience portraying like a noble and elite, as someone who's familiar with playing a role of a noble individual like Sadeas is, Bright Eyes, the elitist society, and the political games, going back and forth between the different noble houses or high princes of Alethkar as they're known throughout the book. And I just think that he would do a really good job portraying Bright Lord Sadeas. And Charles Dance just feels like he's got the right fit, look, appearance, demeanor, and everything to go well with it. I think it would actually turn out pretty well if Charles Dance got that role. Bright Lord Sadeas is one of those characters who kind of has a frenemy, I guess is the best way to put it, between him and Dalinar, as they've got a history and they've got conflict and they've got that history that's maybe good, maybe not, I don't know, you decide by reading the book, but the history is there and there's a lot of tension between Sadeas and Dalinar's family, and I think Charles Dance could just do a really good job bringing that out and across in the character. And the final character that we have in this is going to be Elhokar. Of course, this is a very important role. Now, Elhokar, I always managed to be kind of this petty, paranoid, spoiled type king. He tends to have these, little fits and childish demeanor, and he's trying really hard to be a good king, but he's constantly paranoid. He doesn't feel up to the task a lot of the times. And I think that Jack Gleason would actually do a really good job portraying this character. I mean, we all know just how much and how well he portrayed his character in Game of Thrones, Joffrey Baratheon, and how much everyone came to hate Joffrey. And I think that with that talent behind that character, and Jack Gleason is right about the right age now as well, I think it can really make a key difference and do well in portraying Elhokar in this series of books. And I think it would be a great fit for this role. So there you have it. There is my fan casting for the Stormlight Archive, at least with some of the characters that I thought of. Obviously, there's a much more extensive list of characters. They're not all just these characters. Like many big fantasy epics, there are so many characters, but these are my picks for some of the most important main characters within the series. I know there are more should have got to, such as Adolin, and there are several others that we could list, a huge list of characters, but these are just some of my choices for some of the characters in the Stormlight Archive as a fan casting. Let me know what you thought down below. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. And, as always, join me on the Discord, follow me on Threads and Instagram, and as always, until next time, keep on reading. Bye!